Greetings everyone, TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central, Kirkham Report, and TKR Studios with another installment of Vinyl Archive. We are starting with the RIs today on the male vocalist. We'll go through the STs on the next segment. I'm going to try and get this done quicker. I know these have been running long. I'm going to just go through them a little bit faster and show, because I'm just trying to show off my collection on these. Starting with RI. I wanted this since I was a kid, and I picked it up after joining the vinyl community for, I think, $3 from a Discog seller. This is Rodney Allen Rippey. Live Life a Little Easier. Take Life a Little Easier. Of course, this is mostly the Mike Curb congregation, or the Ron Hicklin singers. I forget which. And Rodney's just doing, like, light overdubs, but he was quite the star in the early 70s. Another gentleman I always loved, and I now have the 3 major albums he lists. I had this one since I was a kid. This is Austin Roberts from 1972. At the time, he had a hit with Something's Wrong With Me. He's also a top songwriter. He wrote Keep On Singing, which he had a single out first, but it wasn't as big a hit as Helen Reddy's version a year and a half later. Wrote great stuff. His second album for Chelsea Records was this one. Last Thing on My Mind. No major hits off of it. I just picked this up more recently. But it's got a lot of great stuff on it. I don't know if there's anything on here that you might be familiar with. It's mostly stuff he did. And then his 1975 album, which produced his biggest hit. This is Rocky from 1975. Like I said, it's on private stock. The title track was a top 10 hit. Another one of those maudlin story songs where, you know, there's death involved and everything else. But he wrote great stuff and still does. He's written some more recent stuff as well. Bruce Roberts, also top songwriter. He's never clicked as a performer. Picked this up in the cutout bin. I'm trying to think if there's any major. He wrote Our Night, which was a hit for Sean Cassidy. Wrote for a few other things on here that were hits for other people. And then I have the collection, my 3-album collection. I believe that's all he did. For Rockwell. Rockwell is Kennedy Gordy, Berry Gordy's son. This is Captured, his middle album from 1985. It's my favorite of his 3 albums. Features He's a Cobra. Also, Don't It Make You Cry, which is this incredible ballad. A song called Peeping Tom was the single. It wasn't a big hit. The 3rd album, The Genie, came out in 86, I believe. No major hits off this. I don't even think he hit the R&B chart with this. But it's good mid-80s R&B. And, of course, the album that had both of his top 40 hits. This is Somebody's Watching Me. Somebody's Watching Me and Obscene Phone Call are both big hits. And he was far underrated. I thought he was a terrific singer and a songwriter. Picked this up when I had the opportunity. This is Dan Rogers and Hearts Under Fire. Dan is Kenny Rogers' nephew. He had a hit single in Washington State when I was living out there. One of his songs, Looks Like Love Again, off this album was a hit on local radio in Spokane. I always thought it was a pretty good song. The whole album is actually quite good. There's a slight country tinge to the pop, AC pop that it is. It's a good album. Mason Ruffner picked this up from Adam at Record Crate a few years ago. It's pretty good. It's your typical mid-80s rocker, guitar rock style. A little bit of blues sounding. It was produced by Rick Derringer. Pretty good. He never really took off as a solo performer. This came from Black Box, and it actually impressed me. I know it's been out there for a while. Space Force from Todd Rundgren. It features Todd doing stuff with other artists. There's Thomas Dolby, Rivers Cuomo from Weezer. The Lemon Twigs are on here. Sparks, Steve Vai. Good, typical Rundgren style rock. This one came from my pal Steve at Vinyl, Value Vinyl. Ballad of the Green Berets by Sergeant Barry Sadler. Of course, that title track was a monster hit in 1966 or 67. He has a nice voice. Most of his songs are war-themed or military-themed. Still pretty good. And this gentleman you may not know, he was the winner of Junior Star Search, or he was the Junior Star Search vocalist champion its first season. This is Jimmy Salvamini and Roll It. This is from 1986. His career was completely derailed when Luther Vandross, who produced this album, had a car accident. Jimmy and his older brother Larry were traveling with Luther. Larry was killed. Jimmy was badly hurt. So was Luther. He did finally get back to music in the early 2000s. He released a CD that was terrific. But at 16, he was doing incredible Blue-Eyed Soul, and this album is awesome. The next set here, my three vinyl copies from Joe Satriani. Most of his is digital or CD. This is actually his most recent album before he started doing all the team ups with Steve Vai and Eric Johnson again. This is Elephants of Mars from 2024. A lot of great stuff on here. Sahara is fantastic. Faceless, good. I mean, you guys know I'm the pop guy. Satriani is one of my favorite artists. I love this guy. And again, this is male artist, not male vocalist. That's why Satriani is included here. This is Shape Shifting. I believe this is from 2022. This includes some really incredible stuff. I think, let me double check the listing here. This has some of my favorite stuff by him, including Shape Shifting, the title track, and Perfect Dust, Teardrops. All great, terrific stuff. I thought, wait, let me check real quick. No, that's on a digital album. Shape Shifting. And of course, the album that started it all for Joe. This is a music on vinyl reissue of Surfing with Alien, which was a monster hit in 1986, I think. A lot of great stuff. Satriani is just great guitar rock. I love the dude. Leo Sayer and Endless Flight. This was his biggest album. Features, oh God, what's on here? You Make Me Feel Like Dancing, When I Need You, How Much Love. Hold On to My Love, his cover of I think that was a Jimmy Ruffin hit later. Leo was great. I love all the songs from more than I can say to you, but I just have the singles of those. Talk about a workhorse who never got the credit or attention that he deserved. It's this guy, Joey Scarberry. This was his only full-length album, America's Greatest Hero. It features the theme from The Greatest American Hero and the follow-up single, When She Dances. Joey had been cutting records since he was 16 up to this point, some of which I've been able to find on vinyl, some on digital. Terrific. He had a song out for Columbia in 1979, which was where I first heard him, called Turn the Light On, which I loved. I wish he'd signed a full deal with them at the time. But this album, really good. If you like the Greatest American Hero theme, you'll love the whole album. It's a terrific album. Anybody remember this guy doing music? This is Glenn Scarpelli. It was his only, it's an EP. It only has 5 songs. Came out in the summer of 1984 or 85. It's good stuff. Get a Love On and Don't Mess Up This Good Thing were both Kirkham Report hits. He's not the best singer in the world, but he's not bad either. And it's way better than Scott Baio. Now, I'm going to get smacked here because I'm an Eagles fan, but I've never been that big of a fan of the solo stuff. I like individual songs by Don Henley and Glenn Frey and Joe Walsh. This guy I love, and I've loved every album I've got. I got 2 of them. I know he's got a couple others out that I'd like to get. This is Timothy B. Schmidt, Playing It Cool. I love this album. Has some great stuff on it. Not a single hit on it. So Much in Love was a minor hit because it was included on the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack, I think. Great a cappella version. And this is his 1984 solo album, Boys Night Out. This is also a great album if you've never heard it. The Two I Own by Dukes of Hazzard star John Schneider. It's Now or Never. Of course, that was his first and only big pop hit, a remake of the Elvis song. This album has got some good stuff on it. It's got his cover of Still, which he was doing on every freaking variety show at the time. The Commodore song. And this was the follow-up album, Quiet Man, which is what really launched his country music career. Also a good album. This is a good album, and I know it made him a pretty big star as he was transitioning from yacht rock pop to country. This is England and Seals and Stones. This was his first solo album. Late at Night was a minor hit, Holding Out for Love. He wouldn't really click until he went full country with Bop and those a couple years later. But it's a great solo album. It's not quite England Ann and John Ford Coley, but it's pretty good. Um, Now we're up to another dude that I happen to be a huge fan of. We just lost him last month. I did a tribute to him on Obscuria. And I've these albums are fantastic from the mid 70s. This is Neil Sedaka and the Hungry Years. This featured Bad Blood and his slowed down remake of Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, plus the title track The Hungry Years, which was also a minor hit for Wayne Newton, and the original versions of Tit for Tat, which was later done by the Kids from Caper, and Lonely Night Angel Face, which was a big hit for Captain Tennille. Neil can't do wrong by me. I love the dude. His 1980 album In the Pocket for Elektra. This includes his last top 40 pop hit, Should Have Never Let You Go, with daughter Dara Sedaka. Letting Go was a pretty big hit on my chart also. And his cover of What a Difference a Day Makes is freaking awesome. This is a mostly live hits album that was released in Britain. It was imported by Gem, a solo concert. You see some clips from it on YouTube on his Neil Sedaka music channel. This is Neil Sedaka and Songs, a solo concert. Terrific. It's got a lot of his stuff from the late 50s and early 60s, and of course the whole back half of the album is his modern stuff. Really good stuff. I think this came out in 78, somewhere in there. His comeback album, Sedaka's Back. This features tracks from 3 of his UK releases from the early 70s. Includes his only number 1 smash of this era. Well, no, he hit number 1 with Bad Blood too. Laughter in the Rain, which was his biggest hit overall. Also includes That's When the Music Takes Me and The Immigrant, his tribute to John Lennon, who was having immigration problems at the time. Again, this also includes the original versions of Solitaire, which was later a hit for the Carpenters, and prior to it, a hit for Andy Williams, and later again, Clay Aiken, and Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain Tennille later. His follow-up album to those two, Steppin' Out from 1976, includes Love in the Shadows, Steppin' Out, several other things that were all great. I mean, like I said, Neil didn't do bad stuff. And phasing off Neil, another one. This qualifies as kiddies who sang and actors who sang, and now doctors who sang. This is Ricky Seagull and the Seagulls. This was released during his time on the Partridge Family in 1973. Ricky was 4 when this was recorded. Ricky is now Dr. Rick Seagull. He is a chiropractor. But he has reunited with the Partridge Family on occasions when they've done reunions. They have included him, which I think is really terrific. And for a 4-year-old, it's not half bad. Next up, classic album from Bob Seger. This is Against the Wind. All of his early 80s, late 70s, early Hayes hits include Your Company Me, Against the Wind, and what was their other single? Fire Lake. These were all from 1980, I believe. Another one of those unsung songwriter artists that I love, and I wish they would be better remembered. And while this guy had a huge hit that they remember, most of the time, people don't remember who he is. This was the second album that had a couple of good songs on it, but never really had a breakthrough. This is Michael Sembello and Without Walls. It contains the title track and Gravity, which were the 2 singles. His other album is best known, Bossa Nova Hotel. This has Maniac from Flashdance on it, and the terrific Automatic Man, which is one of my favorite songs by him. He also did one of these songs, or one of the songs on these albums also appeared on the DC Cab soundtrack. I don't remember which one, but I love both of these albums. Another artist I felt that didn't get the credit he deserved in the early to mid 80s. He was in the 85. It's that late? Okay. It's not that he's not appreciated by the rock community. He is. but he never had major hits, and that's a shame. He was 17 when this came out. This is Charlie Sexton, the debut album. I believe it's just called Pictures for Pleasure. Excuse me. Oops, sorry about that. Features his one modest MTV hit, Beats So Lonely. His younger brother, Will Sexton, later had Will and the Kill, and together they did another band. I can't remember the name of it. I have some CDs by them, but not a vinyl. Love this shot of Charlie on the back cover. Love this album. Two albums by the immortal, by this man who is immortal to me. This is Phil Seymour's debut solo album. Phil was half of the Dwight Twilley Band in the 1960s. This album from 1980 features his one hit, Precious to Me, and also, what was the second single? Let Her Dance, and I Really Love You. Great, great stuff. And this was his follow-up, Phil Seymour 2. Didn't have a hit off of it, but the album is fantastic. Love Receiver is good. Dancing a Dream was a single, I believe. Talk to Me was a single, I believe. We lost Phil in his mid-40s from cancer. He was stupendous. I have several CDs I picked up last year or the year before from collectibles of stuff that had never been released before. And just an amazing artist. I talked about this guy on the Kirkham Report when this came out on vinyl last year or the year before. One of my favorite albums of 2002, excuse me, and nobody's heard of him, and I don't understand why. Even Canadians I've talked to don't know who he is. He's Canadian. This album, if you like Blue Eyed Soul, if you like Paul Young, if you like, if you knew who Jimmy Salvamini was, if you like that kind of sound, you're gonna love this album. This is Remy Shand and The Way I Feel. What a songwriter and singer this guy is. He's got an incredible voice, writes incredible music. This is his only full-length album. He had such a bad experience with the release that he got out of the business. And, man, it was a crime. This album is phenomenal. Two solo albums of the three I have from Tommy Shaw. The third is on CD. This is his initial debut solo, Girls with Guns. Features the title track, which was a top 30 hit. Lonely School and other stuff on here. Tommy Shaw, of course, best known for Styx at the time. Now he's probably best known for that and Damn Yankees. Terrific stuff. The second album, What If, features the title track from the disastrous feature film Reno Williams, The Adventure Begins. Or Continue, whatever it was. Remo's theme was a modest hit. My favorite song is This Is Not a Test, which is an incredible song about nuclear war starting. Tommy is just an amazing artist. And I've been a fan since Styx, and I will always be a fan of the dude. Although, strangely enough, I don't think I have Shaw Blades. I might have the CD. I don't know for sure. This is Ed Sheeran from a couple years ago. This is Autumn... What is it called? Autumn Variations. This has his hit single American Town on it. I have most of Ed's on digital. I have a couple CDs and I have most of the rest of it on digital. Ed is just Ed. Ed Sheeran is a true superstar of the 21st century and deserves every second of it. Next up, let me talk about one of the biggest teen idols of my early years. He was all over the teen magazines. And so many times, teen idols are kids they push into the recording studio. That's not the case with this guy. He was the real deal. He could act. He could sing. He could write. He could do everything. And he did it well. And for a long time, 4 or 5 years, he was a solid performer. And then he got out of the business and spent 30 years with the Los Angeles police and or fire departments. We lost him last year from cancer. An amazing man. This is Bobby Sherman. This is his debut album from 1968, I believe. Back when he was on Here Come the Brides. Was that the name of the show? All of these albums are fantastic. I picked them all except one up. I had two of them. I picked the rest of them all up, I believe, from Record Crate. This is Getting Together. This was the album released around the time he starred in that spin-off of the Partridge Family. Getting Together, Jennifer, getting together as the theme song from the show. And, great stuff. Bobby was always doing great stuff. This is in a plain white sleeve because it doesn't have, my version doesn't have a rail sleeve. This is an album called Here Comes Bobby and featured Easy Come, Easy Go, La La La, his version of Make Your Own Kind of Music, which I love. And I think July 17 was a hit for him off this also. I never had the outside sleeve, and when it was given to me by my cousin, it was like that. Um, then there is the Scrapbook album with Love, Bobby. This has, I want to say this is the one with Little Women on it. Hey Mr. Sun is on this one, and I'm hard pressed to see which other single. It does come with the poster and booklet thing. Really good stuff. There it goes. And Portrait of Bobby, I bought this when I was a kid. Took off the portrait that comes with it, so it's not in mint shape. This had Cried Like a Baby, the drum, and I'm in a Tree from the musical Pretty Belle. Bobby was just one of my favorite artists when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. Loved him. Um, Another teen idol, one that every country has a kid that's just amazing. For America, back in the 60s and early 70s, it was Browning Bryant. For Australia, it was Jamie Redfern. For Canada, it was Renee Simard. This kid is and was amazing. He made he released his first album in 25 years in 2018, and it was really spectacular. This is one of his early albums. It's in French. It is from Canada. I do not speak French, but this is a fantastic album. This is his debut English language album from 1978, Never Know the Reason Why. If you have heard Disco Party, I do use You Are Love as a filler. It's only 3 minutes long, but it does have a disco beat, and I've had actually people saying, wow, you played Renee Simard? Wow. Love this album. He was just is an incredible performer. And if you have any Renee Simard albums you'd like to get rid of, let me know. I'd like to get more. Gene Simmons solo from the Kiss solo set has his minor hit Radioactive on it, and his incredible version of When You Wish Upon a Star. Love this album. Frank Sinatra and My Way. This came from Dawn. This is Frank's version. My Way, of course, was a big hit for him. Also includes his version of Yesterday, Mrs. Robinson, a number of other things. David Slater, Exchange of Hearts. David was the third season winner of Star Search Male Vocalist. Really good stuff. Great country music, country pop stuff. He never had really big success, and it's a shame, especially since Sawyer Brown took off that first season. And then some albums by a gentleman I've mentioned that I love, and a lot of people are surprised because it's indie rock, and I heard his music in the 2009 film Paranoid Park, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And I went back and I'm like, oh, he's not with us anymore. Because at the time, he had just passed away a year or two earlier. This is Elliott Smith and Either Or. This is an exclusive, number 126 of 1,000 copies, released, I believe, by Newbury Comics, or this one is. I have 2 copies of it. This is the Newbury Comics one. This is the one that came from Kill Rock Stars. Both of them have great sound, by the way. This is the other one that came from Newbury Comics, which I'd ordered and forgot I'd ordered the other one. This is New Moon, black and white cloudy vinyl, as you can see there. And Human Candle, which another Newbury Comics exclusive. I can't. Elliott Smith is hard to talk about because he writes such gut-wrenching, personal stuff. The 2 songs on the Paranoid Park soundtrack that first introduced me to him were Angelus and The White Lady Loves You More. And I have been a solid fan of the dude ever since. If you're not exposed to his music, you should be. All right, I got to do this in two pulls because this is the last segment, and I have a lot of two particular artists in this segment. Okay, next up. Remember this dude? Rex Smith, Camouflage. Rex, this was not a big hit. It came out in 82 or 83. Um, I'm looking at the titles. I don't remember any big hits off this. I liked In the Heat of the Night, which was the single. He did Don't Talk, which was later a hit for Larry Lee, or around the same time. Good stuff. Rex was always a terrific vocalist and actor and did great. Again, actors. Technically, he's a singer who acts. He was a singer before he was an actor. This is Everlasting Love from 1981. Features his hit duet with Rachel Sweet on the title track. And the ubiquitous 1980s headband. Love this album. His version of What Becomes of the Brokenhearted is great, although I like John Carroll's a little bit more on his solo album. But as always, it's not a bad album. Forever from 1980 also didn't produce any big hits. It had the title track, To You, which I always liked. He was better at the ballads, and he didn't realize that at the beginning, which we'll talk about in a minute. The album that broke him wide from the TV movie he starred in, Rex Smith, Sooner or Later, featured 3 chart hits, 1 big chart hit from that television movie, You Take My Breath Away, along with the title track and Simply Jessie. Really terrific stuff and good music if you like that kind of, teen idol pop stuff. Before this, though, Rex was a punker. Where Do I Go From Here? Under the band title Rex, there is another album by him that I do not have, and I wouldn't mind having, even though I do not care for this album at all. It does show early talent. He was 23, I think, when this came out. If you like, it's almost what you might get if you mixed 70s punk with 90s grunge. I'm not a huge fan of this, but I would like to get the other album by just Rex, the band. One of these days I'll do that. This is Gino Sozio and Dancer. This is the big album that was... Oh, no, this is Outline, sorry. This has Dancer. The title track is... the Outline is the name of the album. Dancer is the big hit. Dancer spent like weeks at #1 on the dance chart. And I use that and a couple of the other tracks on Saturday Night Disco Party. David Soul, another person who started as a singer before he became an actor. Best known for Starsky and Hutch, this produced his #1 hit, Don't Give Up on Us, and his top 20 AC hit, Going In With My Eyes Open. Is that the one, or is that the other one? That's the other, is that? No, I guess that doesn't come off this. I thought it did. That was actually from the second album, which we'll talk about in a minute. No? Yeah, there it is. Okay. There you go. Second album, Playing to an Audience of One. I got this from Columbia. This has Going In With My Eyes Open, Silver Lady, which was a #1 hit in England, and Tomorrow Child, which I have always loved. This is a great album. Now, let's talk Rick Springfield. Rick Springfield, a lot of people who became fans of Rick Springfield during his big heyday from 81 to 84, where he had done General Hospital and was famous for Dr. Noah Drake, Heartbreaker, do not know most of Rick's really good stuff. He was in a band in Australia in 1968 called Zoot, and later released his own solo albums. This is the reissue of Beginnings. And this, I don't know if it kept that title when it was reissued. I think they just called it Rick Springfield. This is the album with his very first top 40 hit, Speak to the Sky, which was a #14 hit in 1972, people. Great album. The next album from him was Comic Book Heroes. This was took music that was performed on his cartoon series, Mission Magic, in 1974. Great stuff. I'm Your Superman was a minor hit off this. A lot of this is now available. Some other stuff that he recorded in that time frame is now available on CD, reissued a couple years ago. This is Living in Oz from 1983. Features Human Touch, Affair of the Heart, and Souls. Great stuff. Human Touch is my favorite Rick Springfield single. This is the follow-up to his big breakthrough, Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet. There's his dog. It's in most of the covers. This includes I Get Excited, Don't Talk to Strangers, and How Do You Talk to Girls were the big hits off this. This was reissued in the wake of Rick's early 80s success from 1977. Wait for Night features Jessica, the original version of Life is a Celebration, which I later knew from the Kids from Fame. No big hits off this, but it was fantastic. And of course the breakthrough album, Working Class Dog, again with his dog on the cover. This has Jesse's Girl, Love Is Alright Tonight, and I've Done Everything for You on it. I've always loved Rick. I still got 2 or 3 other ones I need to pick up by him, because I'd still like to have most of his hits. I have some on digital that are released in the 2000s that are really good too. Vinyl community, don't hate me. This is the only Bruce Springsteen album I own. This is The River. I've always loved this album. I bought it from Adam at Record Crate a few years ago. Has his only #1 Kirkham Report hit, Hungry Heart, on it. Love this album. I always will. I don't need Born in the USA. I have all 7 singles. And with the flip sides, it pretty much covers the whole album. 2 albums by Billy Squier. I have a couple more on CD. This is Don't Say No, which has The Stroke and In the Dark and My Kind of Lover on it. And Emotions in Motion, which has Everybody Wants You and a couple other things on it. The last of the Kiss solo albums, Paul Stanley. Minor hit Hold Me, Touch Me was on this. I like Don't You Let Me Down. No, that's Chris, sorry. Tonight You Belong to Me is the other one on here that I like really well. Good song, good stuff. This is another one of my favorite artists, and I never had any major albums. I had the greatest hit stuff and 1 or 2 of the newer things. But I went back and started getting some of the classic stuff because I have always adored this man. Cat Stevens, now known as Yusef Cat Stevens. This is Catch Bullet 4. This is an original. Has Sitting, of course, on it, which was the only big hit off of it. But an amazing album from start to finish, as is Foreigner. This has my favorite song by him, The Hurt. I love that song. And The Foreigner Suite. This is 73, I believe. Great stuff. And, of course, T for the Tillerman. This is the album that was really the breakthrough for him. It has Wild World and Father and Son on it. Dude can do no wrong by me. Wrapping up this episode, 2 copies of this gentleman, Jim Steinman, in Bad for Good. Jim is one of the best songwriter-producers on the planet. We lost him a few years ago. He is just amazing. This album features Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through, but not on the album. This copy does not come with that 45. Dawn had a copy, and it did. And so I bought this one too. This has just the sleeve. It didn't have the single in it. And, I mean, there's so much on this album that is so good that Meatloaf would later do. A couple other artists would later do. And Surf's Up, one of the most full double entendre songs of all time, and my favorite Jim Steinman song of all time. Just a fantastic album. That is going to do it for this time. We will come back at the STs, I guess, and then into nearing the end of the male artists. We'll see what happens. If you like this, please subscribe. Please support us through our GoFundMe or through other means as are listed throughout the show and in the show notes. And please let people know we're doing this, and please leave a comment. I'm not getting enough comments back on this. I've gotten a few more than I got last time, but I want to hear more. Until next time, for TC's Vinyl Archive, the complete album collection, I am TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central and the Kirkham Report. I will see you on the interwebs. Ciao, baby.